Blessings, everyone. Welcome to the Walk with Faith podcast with Jeff. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so happy you're here. So, Jeff, can you introduce yourself to everyone?
Yes. Hi, Molly. Hi, everybody. My name's Jeff. Jeff Wuorenmaa. My full name is Jeffrey Harvey Wuorenmaa, and the Harvey is my grandfather, my mom's dad, and this is we are recording this on his birthday. He passed before I was born, but I have always felt him with me on this journey of life. And so I wanted to speak today in honor of him, in memory of him.
Happy heavenly birthday to your
Yeah,
grandpa.
happy birthday, Papa. Yeah. Um, I've been watching you for a couple of months, just really seeing your example of peace and love and joy and the light that you put out into the world. And I felt called to share when you said that you were offering to let people tell their stories on your podcast.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, I'm glad that you are a part of the channel and that you're coming on to share. I love that.
I do
Thank
too.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, where are you located?
I am in the Bay Area in Hayward, California. Um, we jokingly call it the heart of the Bay, but it is a very pass through commuter town that a lot of people are on their way to Oakland or San Jose through.
Okay.
But I work farmers markets for Urban Village Farmers Markets Association in Oakland and the South Bay. I've been working with them since 2019 at the front lines of uh, the food industry, the food war, I guess you could say. We bring good, clean food to people directly from farmers.
That's amazing.
It's been a real blessing to be a part of. Yeah. And we also run an EBT program so people with food stamps cards can swipe them at our info booth and get double what they take off their card, up to $15, and we match them towards fruits and vegetables. So it helps a lot of people that are in need get clean, healthy food and stretch their dollar, which
That's
is just really,
really amazing. Really amazing. That's what
yeah,
we need.
it makes it not feel like work so much. I mean, sometimes it can be really challenging. Each market is different. There's always different vibes with different days. People are, you know, we're all, it changes week to week. And so you never know how the weather is going to be or just what the day is going to throw at you. But it's a really fun job. It's a very rewarding job. And yeah, it's fun to kind of like groove with that pressure and just
Yeah.
like, yeah.
I've done a farmer's market. I did it with my son. Um, and it was nice. I think it was a small one though. It wasn't very big. Growing up in Palm Springs, we had they changed the name from Street Fair was on Thursdays to I think it's like the Village Market or something, but it was huge, massive, so much fun. They had music, all kinds of incredible vendors and just people. Do you guys have music at yours?
Yes, we have a musician every market.
That's so cool.
Yeah, we pay them a travel stipend and try to treat them as good as we can. And some of them are just, I mean, they're all great, but some of them are really amazing musicians. So blessed to be working with live music playing every week.
Yeah, definitely. So
Yeah.
cool. So, um, tell us a little bit about maybe how you grew up, your childhood, or people that have influenced you on your journey.
Okay. Yes. I try to take a few notes. I I grew up with a lot of love as a young child. My mom and dad divorced when I was 4, and I spent a lot of time at my grandma's house. And my aunt lived with her at the time, my aunt Shelly. And so my grandma, we called her Boomba, and she was an amazing woman. My grandma, she was a June 15th Gemini. She oozed class. She was always smiling. She was always kept herself dressed very nicely. She always put on her makeup every morning, and she kept a clean house. And she was just so sweet to me, like growing up. At one point, we ended up moving into her house, and I had a choice between sharing a room with my stepbrother or her, and I shared my room with my grandma. Because yeah, she was just the coolest. And my aunt Shelly was a really classy woman growing up. She was a court reporter for the Alameda County, and she she always made sure me and my sister were taken care of. She always provided for us, and she used to buy movies, and um, I would watch movies from the green bathroom through the hallway, and I could see the TV in her room. And I'd be watching, she had Indiana Jones, all 3 of those movies, and Wayne's World, and yeah, fond memories growing up around my aunt and grandma. Um, my mom was working a lot growing up. She worked for J.C. Penney's. That's where her and my dad met. And my mom was very hip, very cool. I told you before that both my parents were big lovers of music and movies. My mom was into artists like Rick James and Earth, Wind and Fire and Prince and James Brown. She really liked to just like groove around. She was
Cool.
always she was having me bop in the car when I was like 2, 3 years old, and, and she loved to change the lyrics of songs playing on the radio and like get under my sister's skin with like ruining a good song. And my dad also, growing up, my dad was like a guide for me through movies. They divorced when I was 4, and so I would be bouncing over to his house, and and he would show me movies, and he would do a really good job of grounding me through those experiences and reminding me that they are not real. He really put me in touch with that very young. Like, that guy didn't really die, Jeff. And it helped me to feel confident to watch a lot of movies growing up. I mean, I watched a ton of movies. I just really took to that from a young age. It was like almost freaky. Because I told you we grew up in a time where we had VCRs, and so once you rewinded the movie, you could watch it again.
Yeah.
And I like to watch the movies that I like to watch. I watched dozens of times, if not more than that, some of them. My dad raised me on music. He loved the Beatles. He loved Bob Dylan. He loved The Who and Fleetwood Mac, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Often when I'd come over, he would put a live concert on, and he would love to talk story about music and how important it was to him in his life. I remember him showing me Woodstock at like 15, and really seeing the impact that music had on that generation of the 60s and 70s, and how much how high vibrational it was, and how freeing it was for so many, and just how really good the music was back then. He put me, he tried to put me in line with the really good music that he grew up on. And I
That's
just
pretty
wanted
amazing.
to,
That's pretty.
I wrote down a bunch of movies that I liked. I'll just read a couple, but I may want to share a few more at the end, just because these are movies that I still love, and people today seem to not really. Oh, come on, Allie.
Oh, is that your cat? No, it's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, he's like wanting to hang out. He'll probably come over
Yeah,
soon.
I have puppy right here. Say hi,
Yeah,
puppy.
hi,
Yeah.
puppy. Um, because yeah, so as I was a real young kid, I grew up watching Ghostbusters. I love Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd. My aunt showed me Wayne's World. My aunt loved the movie Beaches. I absolutely love Ferris Bueller's Day Off growing up. I swear, like Matthew Broderick just like was teaching me as a young kid how to be cool. I loved Harrison Ford and the Indiana Jones movies. I grew up on a bunch of Disney movies, specifically Lady and the Tramp, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Mickey and the Beanstalk. These were like all on one tape. Um,
I remember that. My parents did that
yeah,
too. They would record multiple movies on the what is it? VHS or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
VHS. That was so cool. Just like, okay, come on, you're going over to your grandma's house,
Hmm.
grab a tape or two. And they
Yeah.
had like 3+ movies each. So you could just pop that thing in for me and I'd be good to go for
Hmm.
hours. I love the movie Hook. We spoke about Robin Williams. I just grew up absolutely loving Robin Williams and his energy. Mrs. Doubtfire, that was one we both really
Awesome.
liked. I loved Jim Carrey growing up. The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura, eventually Truman Show once I got a little older. Groundhog's Day, Aladdin. I remember seeing Aladdin when I was 7. It was for my friend Nick's birthday. He always had his birthday. His birthday was in December, so there was always like a big movie out around that time. So each year we'd go to the movies for his birthday, and this year it was like just me and him and the two prettiest girls in class, and it was this girl I was in love with named Leah, and I remember just sitting next to her watching Aladdin, just like, oh my god, this is the best moment ever.
Cute.
I love Back to the Future growing up. Marty McFly, um, just so cool. I loved movies growing up. It was like a huge thing. Fried Green Tomatoes, Sleepless in Seattle. I remember seeing Sleepless in Seattle in the theater with my sister and grandma, and yeah, just movies were magic back then, and they still are. But this generation today, they don't know how it was to go to a packed theater and to feel that collective energy with a really good movie on the screen, and just how good it felt to go to the movies and be a part of like a communal
Yeah.
experience. It was just awesome. And the movies were just, I didn't even realize it at the time that I was living through like some of the best movies. Like the 90s just had incredible movies. A few more. Speed with
Mhm.
Keanu Reeves. I love that movie. Milk Money with Melanie Griffith and Ed Harris. Dangerous Minds with Michelle Pfeiffer. Spike Lee's Crooklyn. Titanic. I remember seeing Titanic in the theater. 5 times as a kid.
Wow.
I was like 12, but I was like, I gotta go,
Wow.
because every time you went and saw it, there was a full crowd, and it was a moving experience every time.
Yeah.
Um, I loved Wizard of Oz as a young kid, and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I have a really cool memory of my mom taking me out of school one day at like noon to go see Sister Acts with Whoopi Goldberg, and just thinking it's so cool that I got to skip school and have this experience. Just loved movies growing up, and I love music too. Just like the VHS tapes with combo multiple movies, my dad would record me. He would make me tapes of music, little mixes with like Green Day and Hootie and the Blowfish and songs from the Lion King soundtrack. And so I was just a vibing kid that just loved music and loved movies and loved being alive. Yeah. I loved Mariah Carey growing up. I told you about that. That was like, I've reflected on that today as like, she is a very special person. And her music was just, it was giving me a foundation of connection to God, really. I mean, she was singing to the heavens, it felt like. And I have a memory of me and my best friend Chris growing up, singing One Sweet Day all
Mhm.
night, all night at 10 years old, and switching the roles. All right, I'll be Mariah this time, and I'll be Sean Stockman, and you can be the other two, and the guy with the deep voice. And we just would rewind that tape and play it over and over and take turns singing. It was so fun. Um,
Love Mariah Carey. Oh, I see. Is that her album behind you?
yeah,
Oh
it's
my gosh.
actually, yeah. I
Is it a book or?
I've been on a that is actually a laser disc, and I got it just because
Oh
the
wow.
album only shows it up to here, and I've never seen her hands, and I love that it says the first vision. I was just like, I gotta get that.
That's
Um,
amazing.
I just bought all her albums on cassette.
Oh,
Um,
that's
I'm
so cool.
kind, I'm kind of a collector. I just like to remember some of the things I loved growing up. Um, Yeah, some of the movies that affected me later on in life that affected my spiritual journey. Well, I mean, I think it watching movies is a huge part of my spiritual journey because it taught me to see, it taught me to be observant and to pay attention to different performances. I was always drawn to certain actors, like Leonardo DiCaprio. But some of the movies that really touched me on a spiritual level, Speed Racer with Emil Hirsch. That movie is a symphony, and it comes to a crescendo towards the end of the movie, and it just raises the hairs on the back of your neck every time. I highly recommend people watch Speed Racer. And The Truman Show, Inception, V for Vendetta, The Fountain with Hugh Jackman. That movie, absolutely. I didn't know what to make of it when I first saw it as a kid. And so that kind of like, put me in repeat viewings and trying to understand the message of the film and what what they're trying to convey to me, the energy, lots of energy in some of these films. Um, he Got Game with Denzel Washington and Ray Allen. I absolutely love that movie. The main character's name is Jesus Shuttlesworth, and his character growing up had a problem with being named Jesus because everybody thought it was, he was named after Jesus Christ, but it was actually a famous basketball player that he was named after. Really good movie if you haven't seen it. Pleasantville. Yeah, City of Angels. So many movies, and I could just go on and on. Like, seriously, I love my movies.
That's awesome.
Um, and so I'm gonna pivot now a little bit. Um, I was raised Mormon. Um, my dad joined the Mormon church when he married my mom, but after they divorced, he stopped going to church. He was raised Lutheran. My dad was from the Upper Peninsula in Michigan. They call it the UP, from a little town called Ishpeming. And he was working in a mine at one point. He worked in his uncle's restaurant since he was a young boy, and he bought records since he was real young. And he was kind of kept to himself and listened to music all the time. And I think I acquired my dad's ear. I mean, my mom too, but I have to thank more specifically my dad, because he was very, almost obsessive when it came to like his music collection. It meant a lot to him. And they have a story of me running in the room when I was a young child, and the Young and the Restless theme was playing. And they say I just ran into the room, like, and stood in front of the TV, and I was just like frozen. And they were just like amazed, like, because I probably heard that in my mom's stomach over and over, as they watch soaps every day, All My Children and Young and the Restless. And yeah, I just came out the womb with an ear, and I was always humming as a kid. I would be humming all of these themes for movies, and they almost thought it was like, I was really young doing this, 2, 3 years old, humming entire themes to movies. Um, but yeah, back to being raised Mormon. Um, Growing up, we didn't go that religiously. We would miss a lot. Um, Maybe once every other week or once every 3 weeks or so, we go to church. And my mom, she remarried, and she was with an abusive person, and it was short lived. It made a strong impact in my life. I saw him be physically abusive to my mother, I was really young. I was like 6. And so I felt like there was nothing I could do about that. And it was really hard to see. I think it made it hard for me to get along with men in times in my life. Um, and then in '93, my mom remarried to Randy Foreman, and he had 2 kids, my brother Jason and my sister Nikki. And they ended up moving in with us when I was like 7 or 8. And Randy was in my life until I was 18. He was really a tough guy. He was very tenacious. He was very loud, very boisterous. It felt like his voice could shake the walls of the house. He would just like scream our name, and we would just go running to see what we needed to do. And when my mom met Randy, he was like a biker at a bar, and like had long hair and wore a leather vest and everything. And then he converted to Mormonism, and he got clean cut, and he changed a lot. But he started to really embrace the church and use that kind of power. Um, it wasn't, I just like always loved people, even though how they were. He was intense. And he really took to the leadership of the church and kind of the patriarchy of it. And, and it felt strict in our home. And so I had this dynamic in my young life where I would be getting this strict Mormon upbringing. And then I would go to my dad's. And because my dad only had so much visitation, he would want to offer me the freedom to do almost whatever I wanted. He would allow me to cuss. He would allow me to watch R-rated movies. He would just try to let me be me, and just he would guide me, but just try not to. He wasn't very much of a disciplinarian. He was more like my best friend, or someone I really enjoyed being around. Um, and so around the time I graduated high school, a couple things about my high school experience. I played 4 years of football. Um, my I was a real big kid growing up, and so I always felt like it was like my duty to play football. I mean, even since I was like in elementary school, adults around me would just be like, "Oh, you're going to play football." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And sure enough, when high school started, it was like, "Okay, I'm here to play football." And my freshman year, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just getting banged around, trying to keep up. But then my sophomore year, we had Casey Marino came to the school, and he was a serious football coach, and he had the intention of turning our program around. And he put me on varsity my sophomore year, and I became a punching bag for seniors, which was an experience, though. I didn't get to play much in games my sophomore year, but I got to bond with older kids and kids that were way more muscular than me at the time. And I have a memory of me and like 10 seniors all going to watch Remember the Titans together in like 2000. And I felt like, oh, I'm part of this is really cool. And my junior and senior year, I started to take football very seriously. My coach made us practice every day, rain or shine. And it was like almost militant. And we practiced through the year. I mean, the season would be over, and he'd be like, "You got practice on Monday," and it was like, "Coach, we don't play for a year." Yeah, we're gonna get ready, and I think football really gave me a warrior spirit. It really physically toughened me up. It broke me as far as pushing through my threshold of what I could endure, because by my senior year I was like begging for it. I was like, "Coach, I think we need to run more. I don't think we're ready." Like I really stepped into a leadership role my senior year. I was the center, um, hiking the ball to the quarterback and then protecting him. And so I played my entire senior year. I played every offensive down, and we went from being a 4-6 losing team to a undefeated team my senior year, until our last game, which we played at Chabot College, a local college around here. We played before like 3,000 fans against the other undefeated team in the league, and we lost, and it was really tough. Um, my coach was such a guy. He was such a great man, a very loving man, and a very like the kind of guy that would put on Braveheart probably on repeat for himself. Just just a very, and he'd pray with us. He had a strong connection to God, and he had a pastor who would pray for us before each game, like a serious one-on-one, hand on the shoulders or head, and like pray for us as we went into battle. And it felt like we were going into battle. I had a shoulder injury, and my shoulder would pop out sometimes during games. But after we lost that final game at Chabot College, my coach reached out to the Oakland Raiders, and he had them donate a bunch of cleats and gloves and turf shoes to us because we were still in the playoffs, and we played Berkeley High and won. And then we went on to play De La Salle, which was this undefeated team that had a 16-year streak of winning over 150 games, because
Wow.
they were in Concord, which is nearby, and they like recruited. They had a movie made after them with Jim Caviezel. And it was just a privilege, though, to get my ass whooped by De La Salle. I'm a part of that streak that they had, so that's something. Another thing about me, I was raised in Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. From the time I was like 7 until I was like 12, I was in Cub Scouts. And my mother was a den mother, and she led a group of 6 to 8 of us at our house once a week. And then I went into Boy Scouts, and that was more Randy's arena. Randy was very much into scouting, and he kept this very militant vibe to things. I was in this troop that we wore berets. It felt like, they would just say the name of the troop, and we would like shout. They'd say 603 on the climb. And it was just very militant. So scouting, though, going to summer camp, growing up, it connected me to nature. I took this one merit badge called environmental science, and one of the requirements is doing like 30 plus hours of observation. And so like I'm at summer camp, just like, hey guys, I gotta go out in the woods and just sit there for a couple hours. I gotta just take notes on what I see. And there was another one, wilderness survival merit badge. We had to go out late at night and build like a small shelter with just like whatever nature stuff was around, little lean-to things. And I don't think we had sleeping bags. So, we're like 15, 16 years old, sleeping out in the cold, and just getting connected, though, like there was magic in that outdoors, all these campouts. I went camping a lot in scouting, and I ended up getting my Eagle Scout right before I turned 18 by it was like, right, you can't get it past 18 years old. And like, it was like 1 month before something, I did my Eagle project. I built this play dome thing at this elementary school, and I led a group of people to do all of that. And yeah, that was kind of an accomplishment in my young life. I left the church. I left the Mormon church when I was around 17. I got a girlfriend, and I went towards that. She was Mexican and Puerto Rican, and she had the most amazing family. And I would go over to her house any chance I got when I was off work. And yeah, I was with her for 5 years. And in that time, I was also working. I got one of my first jobs out of high school, I worked at Lucky's grocery store. It was Albertsons when I started, but I was a bagger for 4 months, and then I was promoted to the meat department July 4th, 2004. I remember that because it was the manager, JoJo. It was her birthday, and she needed the day off. And so they were like, we're going to hire you to cover her birthday. And I was like, but it's 4th of July. Like, we don't have to hire you.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. But so I worked in the meat department for 6 years or something. It was like a long time. And it was like 50 degrees. It was a lot of work. I mean, I was working my ass off there. Um, they'd have us break, and I was just young and willing and ex-football player. So like I'm breaking down these pallets of 100-pound boxes of meat and stacking them on the walls and grabbing up a bunch of chicken boxes and running them out to the sales floor and stocking the shelves. And I worked the seafood counter for a couple of years. I had to get there at like 5 to set up the seafood before the store opens. I spent a lot of time wrapping meat. All the meat that has the plastic around it was done by hand, and we'd like put it on this conveyor belt, and it would like seal the back. And it was quite the experience. I thought it was a cool title. It's like, oh, I work in a meat department. Yeah, that's manly or something, But yeah, let's see. So, having left the church when I was 17, for reasons I don't really need to get into on this podcast, I was always connected to God. I told you, Molly, in our conversation that my mother taught me and my sister how to pray when we were very young. We would pray on our knees on the side of the bed when I was 2, 3 years old, 4 years old. And so I always felt my own connection to prayer and to God. I always felt the Spirit on some level. I'm not trying to act like it was just like, oh, I had this gift of just like, I was a faithful boy, and I prayed very young. And my mom, if she lost something and couldn't find it, I would like, let's just pray for a second. Let's just have a prayer, and then you'll remember. And then she would, and it would just be like, wow, prayer is awesome. And so after leaving the church, I still had that foundation of connection with God. And I always felt, without a doubt, like that there's a higher power in this world and that we're loved. I was loved so much growing up. And so in 2007, I was in college. I was in statistics, and I studied really hard. I, for some reason, really liked the class. I really enjoyed statistics. I don't know why. It just like clicked to me. I just really enjoyed it. And the teacher, though, was really tough. And I bombed the final. Like, I mean, I was keeping up and it was a long quarter. I mean, a long semester. I was like paying attention, working really hard to learn this subject. And then I just bombed the final. And I remember getting done with that and going to my friend Chris's house, my best friend growing up, Chris Chappell. And our friend Nick was over. And I was like, hey guys, I just bombed my stats final and I'm in a bad mood. And Nick was like, oh no, man, you gotta use the secret, man. And I'm like, the secret? Yeah, man, like it'll be fine. Like like can you go back? Can you take that back? Can you take that test back? I'm like, well, no. Well then let it go. And and I was like, what is this? What is this? What are you talking about, man? And he just went on and on that day. And he was like, yeah, man, like it's gonna be fine, dude. And I was like, just his enthusiasm about this book, The Secret, it touched me. And I remember we ended up just like spontaneously going out to SF that day, San Francisco, and just having an amazing day, just like a really fun time. And it was all in this trust that everything is going to be perfect, exactly how it's meant to be. And I was like, whoa. I mean, I just went from feeling really down and low at work from this class to having one of the best days of my life at that time. And as soon as I could, I went and picked up a copy of The Secret by Rhonda Barnes, and I was touched by the subject matter of the law of attraction. And she also made a movie, and it included like 20 plus spiritual teachers. Jack Canfield, who wrote um, Chicken Soup for the Soul, and like a few other amazing people. And I was just like, they kind of like put me on this path of learning the power of positivity and the power of our minds and of how we think, and that thinking positively can lead to amazing things. And I started to listen to really uplifting music. Excuse me. Like Vampire Weekend's first album was just this very dancey, very fun album. Things like that. Just I was playing with the law of attraction and learning how to just see things through a positive lens. But I was young, and so that became hard to sustain over time. Um, I think at the end of 2007, a coworker of mine, Rob, came home from the Air Force for the holiday, and we were drinking. I was young and dumb, and we had like some Hennessy or something like that, and he had like two drinks, and he's like, "Hey man, I gotta go pick my sister up." And I'm like, "Yo man, you can't leave. Like you just drank. Like we can't be driving. It's right down the street, dude. Like I have to get my sister." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm coming with you." It literally was a couple of blocks down the street. She was at this hotel party. We get there and he's yelling back and forth on the phone with her. She eventually comes down and she's wearing like a kind of a skimpy black dress. And we get in the car and he's yelling at her, and he's like, "We're going to go back there. Like, we're going to go to Jeff's right now. We're going to grab a bottle and we're going to go back to that party. I want to see what was going on there." And they're yelling back and forth. And then he turns to go towards my apartments, and he hits the gas like 20 miles an hour or something. And he was heading towards the left side of this bridge that leads up to my apartments. And then she yelled out, "Robert!" And he jerked the wheel to the right and crashed head on into the right side of this bridge.
Wow.
And it messed me up. It took time to reveal that pain, took its time to reveal itself. It wasn't immediate. I did go to the doctor the next day and they said you're fine ish, but over time, Well, over time, we had the 2008 housing bubble crash. And when that happened, my mom lost her job and work became that much harder. It was like Lucky's was seeking to squeeze more work out of us because of the financial burden of that. And so I was doing the work of 3 to 4 men every day with this kind of bodily injury from this accident. And so I had this shoulder pain in my right shoulder that would just click every time I did that. I'd be like, click, 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 click. And I still had to wrap thousands of packages of meat using my shoulder.
Right.
And it was just exacerbating it every day. And it was really painful. And I was trying to mask that pain. I got into opioids at a time. I had a struggle with that for a little bit because I was just in pain, like serious pain every day. And so that was the beginning, middle of late 2008 that happened. I was still practicing the law of attraction and trying to be positive through everything, even with this bodily pain I was experiencing daily. And Obama won the election, the 2008 election. And I was really taken by his campaign and his message of hope and his way of carrying himself. He was a Leo, I'm a Leo. And so I had a lot of respect for his strong personality and how he carried himself. And my uncle Terry, I forgot to mention him earlier. My uncle Terry is my aunt and my mom's brother. Um, he served the Mormon mission in France when he was 19, and he eventually moved to Washington, D.C., and he worked different government jobs. And he also taught communications at Johns Hopkins University. And so he was very much a success, patriarch of the family, if you will, very loved. He spoke to my mom long distance all the time. She loved her brother. And so Terry lived in DC, in Maryland. And so it was like, Mom, why don't we go to Obama's inauguration and see Terry? And we did. And I think that was a big turning point in my life. I broke up with my partner of 5 years at the end of 2008. I felt like I needed to go further into my spiritual journey, or I was needing something. I didn't know what it was, but I wasn't fulfilled in that relationship anymore. And I went to the inauguration. I soaked it up. They had this concert for America at the Lincoln Memorial a day or two before, and it was also Martin Luther King Day a day or two before. And like I was going downtown DC and just feeling the vibes of the people. And before the inauguration, there was a palpable feeling of hope in Washington D.C. Um, the vibes were high, and it felt really great, and it was inspiring. On that trip, I also caught a train to New York and spent an entire day with my best friend, and we went to the Met, and we looked through all of the Egypt stuff and Indian artifacts, and I just remember that being mind blowing.
Cool.
Seeing all of these artifacts with their dates and seeing how old these things are, it was incredible. So that trip was just like a really meaningful trip for me. It was me believing in hope. It was me believing in the possibility of change in our world. And so, yeah, when the actual inauguration happens, it was okay, but it was more so the vibes before, like the morning before, the morning of the inauguration. They held us in the freezing cold, um, just waiting for hours. And so all of us were like, I had like people inside my jacket, in each arm. We were all rocking and singing, and like there was just a peaceful vibe. And there was no, it was like there was no racism, there was no none of that. It was just everyone coming together and like believing in change, and like we were united there. It was
That's
beautiful, and
beautiful.
it was a vision of what's possible. And so I came home from that. Let me gather myself for a second.
That was amazing.
It was really cool. I wish I could find, we have pictures of me just I'm like a sardine in a
I love
sea of
that.
people. It
That's
was
so
so
great.
fun.
The energy rather than the flesh. Everyone just came together in that beautiful energy
Yep.
of hope and peace. I love it.
Yeah, that was very inspiring. It felt like a turning point. Absolutely. Just like I came back and I got a new girlfriend. She worked with me. She was a Leo, and we just had all kinds of fun together. We like to go camping and hiking, and we just, it's a couple of Leos just hanging out, really enjoying each other's company. And let me piece together where, okay, in the end of 2009, my mom kicked me out of her place, and I moved into an apartment on my birthday on August 20th, 2009. And I had three black roommates, and it was kind of a hood area in Hayward, and it was quite the experience. It was a lot of fun. I had my own room, and I had these roommates, and we all vibed together. And after moving in there, my friend Chris Dana, um, who is also a really good friend of mine, who is a spiritual ally to me, and I went to college with him. My first year of Chabot College, I was with Chris in all of my classes. I was part of this integrated math and science program. Um, and so we had all our classes together, and we got to know each other. And when I was living at this apartment, he told me he had been reading The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And I pivoted from The Secret to reading Eckhart and learning the power of now and being present and recognizing the ego and starting to do the work on trying to see myself, understand who am I, but also trying to be present and put that into practice. And so I was only at that apartment for 4 months, and I moved. I had to get out of there. I actually, so one of my roommates was this rapper named Patrick, and his mom was dating a Freemason, and he had told me that this boyfriend of hers was offering to potentially make Patrick a Freemason. He had walked him through the initiation, which he shared with me, of like being blindfolded and taken to a location and doing a mock burial and like putting swords over him and stuff. And I'm like, whoa, that's heavy. I gotta get out of here. But it was also, he was drinking and it was just not the best environment. And I needed to get out of there. And I moved in with my cousin Jake, who I grew up with and loved deeply. I made a room out of the garage. Um, and so that was like December 2009. And my girlfriend at the time knew my cousin, knew Jake, and she did not like Jake. And she was like, "If you move in with Jake, I'm leaving." And I was like, "I don't have a choice. Like, I got to get out of here." And she left, and it hurt. I was alone. Um, it's weird. I mean, I was not with her long. It was like a year, but that heartbreak was intense. And I had the pain going on in my body still. And so 2010 was a very sad year for me. It was a painful, sad year of this coping cycle, alcohol, sadness. I listened to a lot of records, though. I was avid record collector at the time. I started collecting records in like 2007. That I just love. I call it digging. I would go digging and looking for gems. And so 2010, I was heartbroken and broken. My body was broken and it hurt real bad. And in July of 2010, I was working at the meat department and I got a call that my aunt had just been in an accident, a biking accident. She was riding like Lance Armstrong style
Wow.
everywhere. Um, she took up the hobby of bike riding, and she even wore like the spandex leggings and spandex shirts. And she did several rides around Lake Tahoe. She was serious, and she had gotten in this accident going 35 miles an hour down a hill in Sinole, which is nearby here. And she was airlifted to San Jose. And I just ran out of work. I was like, oh my God, a rock in my life just got really hurt. And I shot out to San Jose and we saw her and she looked terrible. And they had to do immediate spinal surgery. They had to go through the side of her neck to get to the back of her spine. And they were like, you might as well just go home because this is going to take some time and there's nothing you can really do. And I remember going home after that and just like the strongest feeling of disillusionment. I was heartbroken. I was so upset. I remember feeling like I was driving through this part of Hayward on my way to my cousin's, and like all the buildings just went blank. Like there was nobody in them. Like, I don't know, that feeling was really interesting. Um, it was really painful for me. And I am empathic and I feel sympathy pains. And so I went home and got in my bed and I'm feeling like I'm having surgery done on me. It was an awful thing. And then she was transferred to Vallejo, to a Kaiser up there. And we would go to see her all the time. And I'm going to take a sip of my green smoothie here.
Yeah.
Her accident was very disillusioning for me. The things that my peers were concerned with, pop culture, these types of things, none of it mattered. All that mattered was seeing her, working with that. Um, it was just heartbreaking to me. And I had my physical pain going on, and it was just a really hard time. I'm like getting a little emotional.
Sorry.
And so I had already planned on going to New York for my 25th birthday before she got in that accident. I already had my tickets and everything. So I went to New York. My friend Chris was staying in Brooklyn, and he was working for MLB.com. He moved out to New York in like 2007. And I went out there for a week or so to celebrate my birthday with him. And so I put the stuff that was heavy and going on at home aside and had an amazing time in New York City. I did all kinds of fun things I like to explore, and I really enjoyed that city. I've been there 3 times. The day of my birthday, the day I turned 25, Chris and I were on top of a 50-story skyscraper taking a photo shoot of us, together, marking us both being 25 together. And we went out to dinner and with his girlfriend, and we went to bars, and we just had a great time, really great time on my birthday. And we got home that night, and at about 3 a.m., I get a text from my mom that my uncle just passed away earlier that day on my birthday.
Wow. Sorry.
Now, here's another thing. And the way it goes in my head is that my uncle, my uncle's wife had a stroke in the 90s, and he was devastated, and her caretaker, and he gained a lot of weight, and he was not very healthy. The boy liked to eat a lot. That was his coping mechanism.
Right.
And when he heard about my aunt's accident initially, I think he had ended up in the hospital with like chest pains and stuff. And so that led to a month later him passing on my birthday. And so I caught a bus to DC, and my mom and sister flew out. My aunt was still in the hospital, but they came and we had my uncle's funeral. And I just could not shake the significance of his passing being on my birthday and him being this leader of our family. And I'd already felt very disillusioned. And so this felt like a call to action. This felt like I've really got to do something here. This is like serious. Like he passed the baton to me. It felt like I've got to figure something out. And so I got back, and I was still in a lot of pain every day. And in December, a few months later of 2010, my friend Chris came to visit. He also came to that funeral. He came later than me, but he showed up and joined us for that funeral. He came to visit the Bay Area in December, and it was like a day after Christmas. I was not feeling well, and I was about to take these NyQuil, and I had them in my hand, and they came to represent the blue pill, like in the Matrix. And I'm holding these, and then I get a call from Chris, and he's like, "Hey, buddy, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh man, I'm not feeling well. I'm about to lay down and go to sleep." "No, you're not. Like, we're gonna hang out." And I'm like, "Okay." I decided, all right, I'm gonna go. And I went with him and our friend Tom over to this girl Lauren's house, and I met Denise. and it was a little gathering, and I won't go into too much detail about that, but Denise looked at me with very powerful eyes, wise eyes, and I saw in her something that I wanted. I wanted to understand the world the way she did. Um, at that night, she offered to walk on my back. Can I walk on your back? Absolutely. And she was a light thing, like 110 pounds, 120 pounds or something. And she was like a ballerina on my back. And she got some pops out that I hadn't felt in a while. And it was like, oh my goodness, such relief. And I knew I wanted to get to know Denise. And she asked me that night if I'd ever tried LSD. And I was really thrown off by the question because no, I had not. And I had been raised to think that is an absolute no-no. I had DARE growing up in elementary school, and the depiction of LSD was some crazy cartoon reality where everything's a nightmare. And so I'd always feared it and wanted nothing to do with it. And so seeing her eyes and things, I said no. And she said, I think you should. And I kind of I trusted her, and I said, yeah, okay, I'm interested. And I got her number, and she had told me also that night that she would be leaving on Valentine's Day for Africa. And so here it is, day or two after Christmas. I'm doing the math. I have about 40 days with her. I'll take it. Sure. Yeah. And so me and her became inseparable for a little while. We had a relationship, and she wanted to prep me to take LSD with her. And she introduced me to a book called Color Energy, which was a book about a teacher in Switzerland and her kindergarten students and noticing different energies in these kids. Highly recommend it. It was a great introduction to chakras and things like that. And she also introduced me to the book Be Here Now by Ram Dass. And she gave me her copy. I went home and I read it. I read, the beginning, because the rest of it is a bunch of mandala type pages with beautiful writings and different experiences that he had. But the beginning was the story of Ram Dass, and his name was Richard Alpert, and he worked at, I'm forgetting the university, but he worked with Timothy Leary, and Timothy Leary introduced him to LSD. And he described to the readers having taken it and his first times, and then eventually going to India and finding his guru and like speaking to him without speaking, and like him having a telepathic connection with his guru. And he also described having taken it thousands of times, which made me feel confident that I could try this and that I would be okay, because this man had taken it many times and I'm only going to take it once or twice or a dozen times. We'll see. And so leading up to January, it was right before the Super Bowl, Denise reserved us a campground north of San Francisco, and she had me eat clean. She had me prepare my body, and I fasted a bit. And we hiked into this campsite and we took this, and the experience was beautiful. It was very mellow. It didn't appear to be anything different than my normal perception, just everything looking very beautiful. We watched the sunset and we saw a 360 view of the Bay Area, and it was just a beautiful evening together. And I really am very thankful for her guidance in introducing me to this with respect and with reverence and with beauty. And so after we left that day, I remember us saying, you know, like the world is changing. Like it's about it's 2011. Like 2012 is next year. Like things are changing. And she said, yeah, they're always changing. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. You know, and some weeks passed, and it became Valentine's Day, and Denise had an art show in San Francisco, and there was a drum circle, and they ceremoniously shaved her head, and then she was gone. And I was back to my life as a meat clerk, and she was gone. This light in my life was gone. And it was like kind of back to square one. Like, oh, it was hard, especially leaving on Valentine's Day. It was just like, and then within weeks, I had seen that she was living with somebody and in a new relationship out there. And that was also a little difficult. And so I wanted to try LSD again. And this time I wanted to take it with my friend Chris Dana. And so I told, you know, let's do this. And he said, yeah, okay. Well, if we're going to do it, we're going to do two. We're going to take more than you took with her. So we each took 2 hits, and we went camping at Lake Chabot nearby here. And that night, it came on a lot stronger than it did with Denise, but it was extremely beautiful. It was like the grass was glowing in the dark. It was nighttime, but the grass was like Avatar, luminous, beautiful. And we were having a beautiful experience. We kind of went for a little night hike, and we were overlooking the lake, and we were just chatting and talking. And going into that night, I was kind of having issues with me and my mother's relationship. And then she appeared to me in front of me, looking more beautiful than I'd ever seen my mother. It was like this was not pictures in my mind that I had seen of her youth. This was my mother looking like an angelic 20-year-old. And she was just radiating light in front of me, and I was just brought to absolute tears. And the conveyance of energy was this realization of how much my mom loves me and how much I give her, how much she lives for me to thrive and have a good life. And I really felt that. And I was just brought to tears, man. It was so beautiful. I was like, oh my God, I love my mom. And I didn't have relationship problems with her after that night. It really helped me to understand her love for me and heal our relationship. And so I was feeling very good about things. I liked how I felt after that experience. I felt like it was helping me get through some stuff. And so I decided to get brave. And I decided I was going to take that same amount by myself in the dark. And so I don't know how long it was after that, but it was March. It was mid-March. And so we're filming on the 13th of March. It was a few days probably after this, 14 years ago. And I was at my cousin's house in my room. I took these 2 sugar cubes or something, and it was 10 p.m. And I started to feel that come on real fast. Should we pause or anything? You good, Molly? How you doing?
Good. I'm good.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So I
We're
took
about
these.
we're about an hour and a half in
How much time do we have? I'm gonna try to.
because we may
What?
have to do it again, but keep going. Keep
Oh
going.
no. Okay.
You may get to come on twice. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I would love to come back. Yeah, but it started to come on really strong, and I was like, whoa. So I went and took a shower, and my cousin had a bunch of friends over in the living room, and they were playing video games and drinking beer. And I sneak back into my room, and I feel much calmer after having taken a shower. And I'm sitting in this wheelie chair in the middle of the room, and I'm looking around my walls at my artwork. I'm also an artist. I do different collage type things, paintings. I took some art stuff in college. Um, I'm looking at my artwork and going, why did I do this right now? What am I doing? Oh my gosh, I should be in nature or something. What the heck am I doing? And I'm just going with the flow, trusting God, trusting spirit that this is going to be okay. And so I sit there in this chair and I start to hear a frequency. I start to hear a sound coming from above. And I'm like, what is that? And I start to put my attention on this sound and I start to listen intently as it grows louder. And it is a very interesting sound. It's like very trippy, and I'm just like in awe. I'm like, it doesn't, I'm not scared or anything. This is very interesting. And so I turn the light off and I go lay on my bed. And as I lay in my bed, it gets louder, and it's as if the sound starts to surround me, and it was very transporting.
That's
And
awesome. I think that's amazing.
it was. And the sound, I've described this in writings after as biomechanical sound. It's as if this sound is taking form around me, and I'm transported to seeing a realm that is golden, and it is liquid, but it is technology, and it is beyond our comprehension. It is beautiful. I am in a mantra of gratitude that I'm being shown this as I'm seeing just something unbelievable that I've never experienced. And I mean, it is just thank you. Thank you for showing me. Thank you for showing me. Thank you for showing me. And I can't believe what I'm seeing and experiencing with this sound transporting me to this other realm. And it's absolutely beautiful and peaceful. And it is surrounding me in love. And I just can't believe it. How much time do I have, Molly?
Keep going.
Do you have it?
Keep
Okay.
going.
Okay. So it gets to be about 2 in the morning, and my cousin comes in the room. We shared the room. He slept across the room in the top bunk of a bunk bed. And he goes, Jeff, yeah, man, did you take LSD tonight? Yeah. What are you seeing? What are you experiencing, man? Oh my God. Jake, oh my God, man. It has been incredible, dude. Like we are not alone, my friend. I have been shown another realm, and it is just so beautiful. And he's like, wow, like tell me more. And we go back and forward, kind of recounting this. And then I hear Jake fall asleep, and I hear him kind of snoring. And I'm like, okay, it's now 2:30. Jake's asleep. I think I'm good. I think I think what I've just gone through is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, and I think I'm done, and I'm gonna go reflect on this in the backyard while I smoke a joint. And so I had this joint rolled on the bookshelf, and I go stand out in the backyard and I light it, and I start to take hits of it, and I'm just, wow. Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you for showing me. Oh my goodness. I'm hitting this joint, and as I take about 10 puffs, the old dare propaganda pops in, kind of, and I go kind of, okay, I took this at 10. It is now like 2:30, and now I'm smoking a joint, but I'm not quite sure if the effects are done. And then boom, like that, I had this fear response, and the backyard just went, it just vanished. And bing, right in front of me was a spirit guide. And it was like right in my face. And it is stern. And he goes, it's a masculine energy. It's a foreign, it is a language I've never heard before, but it has Asian tones to it. And I can fully understand what he's saying to me. And it says, essentially, like, you fool, like, you were just gifted this viewing, this experience of seeing this divine realm, and then you have smoked the sacred herb right after, like it's nothing to you. And now I'm hearing a leaf blower in the background, confirmation or something. And I am like, whoa, I'm sorry. I meant no disrespect. And in this moment, I'm fearing that this is what they tell you. This is the moment where I'm in trouble. I'm gonna wake up with mental issues or some kind of impairment. I'm really scared of that. And I'm like, please don't, like, have mercy on me. I meant no disrespect. And it is like, go in the room. And I'm like, I'll do it. It basically inferred, like, you're going to do what I tell you right now, or you're going to wake up not feeling great. And so I was like, I am in compliance.
Mm-hmm.
And so I stumble into the room in the pitch black, and I make my way to the bed. And as soon as I lay down on the bed, I feel my arms come up over me involuntarily, and my hands come down over my heart chakra. And I start to feel an intense pull from above. And I am like, I can feel that pull. And I am like, oh no. And I say to this spirit guide, my body, it is broken. How can I be with you like this? I will fix it. And then my hands come back out to the side, and I shimmy over to the center of the bed, and my hands come out to my side, and I start to feel like I'm getting surgery on my
Mm-hmm.
back. It is like, and I'm feeling things align, and I'm feeling relief. I'm like, oh my gosh, like things that have been kinked in me for a year or something or longer were now unkinked, and I am like very alive, and I'm feeling activation in my forehead, like nothing I've ever experienced. It's like I am now become this Tron light cycle, essentially. It's like I have this whole, like, kind of invisible suit around me, or craft, if you will. and I am like highly activated. My hands are out to the side, and then they come back over my heart chakra, and my feet are straight as an arrow and together, and my whole body is in alignment. And I start to soar. I start to soar very fast. I can only describe it as 2,500 miles an hour or 3,000 miles an hour. It's like I am taking off, and it's very exciting. It is very exciting. It's like, oh my gosh, the coolest roller coaster ever. And in that moment, I'm trying to conceptualize this by thinking things like, wow, my body has become like a Tron light cycle, which is a whole vehicle appearing out of a stick. And as soon as I think something like that, I'm back in the room. And it's just like, oh no, that's not what I should do. I have to be mindless right now. I have to let this go in order to flow. And then I go no mind, and I'm back to soaring. I'm going real fast. And then because my mind is very full of movies and all kinds of things, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is just like that scene in Contact with Jodie Foster. Boom, back in the room, just back on the bed. Oh crap. Just don't think, Jeff. And I let go of thought, and I soar very fast. And then I arrive, and there's a stillness, there's a calm peace. And then out in front of me is the most enormous monster. It is towering over me. It is like skyscraper height. I mean, it is like the Balrog in Lord of the Rings. If the Balrog was made up of 100 Balrogs, and it was just every monster all into one black void of a towering presence over me, and I am like terrified. I am like facing my annihilation. I am like, oh my gosh. And I can speak. And I call out to the guide that was with me, and I said, how could I ever defeat such evil? To which I got no response. And so I am facing annihilation right before my eyes. I am like about to be destroyed. And I can freely think here at this time. I have the ability to, I couldn't do that while I was taking off, but I'm allowed to kind of figure it out. And Eckhart Tolle came to mind. And I don't know how, but somehow I knew that this thing, this monster, was like my ego. And I am like, okay, if this is the ego, I cannot fight it. I will only be destroyed if I try to fight this. And then the word stillness came to mind. The word stillness rang over and over in my mind. And it was like, I cannot defeat the ego. Stillness, 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 stillness. And it's vague to me exactly what happened after that. I think that either that thing imploded back into me or it just faded away. But after repeating stillness, it is like I heard the sound of every slot machine in the entire universe going off at once. It was like, and it was this very, and it's like I'm seeing coins, like I'm just seeing like golden, and the voice says, that was the right answer. And I'm feeling this, like I said, you know, slot machines going off is a good thing, right? I mean, that means you're winning. And I felt I felt very light, and I felt like I was dead. Um, I felt like I was in a place where I felt very loved and very comfortable and very happy to be there. And like I was just surrounded in love, surrounded in love. It felt so loving. And all the pain and all of the hardship from earth, my experience, all of it in my life, none of that mattered in this state, in this place. It was just so beautiful and welcoming and warm. And it has now been an hour and 40 minutes. So
Oh,
I
no,
want
you're good.
okay,
I'm just listening. Yeah,
okay,
we'll go for a
okay.
little. Yeah, I want you to keep
I just don't want
talking.
us to get cut off or whatever, you know, because the end of this story is really the meat of it. Um, and so I am now in a place of absolute peace and bliss and comfort. And I am in that mantra of gratitude, just like I was when I was shown this other depiction or realm. I am just like, thank you, thank you, thank you for showing me, thank you for showing me, thank you for showing me. Like I am just cannot express enough gratitude for where I am and how I feel and the love that is surrounding me. And from then, the night becomes a very peaceful experience of teaching. Right after that, I get this message conveyed to me that says, life is a game, Jeff. Life is a game, and games can be challenging and they can be competitive and difficult, but games are meant to be fun and to remember to enjoy the game of life that you get to play. And I was just like, wow, I'm seeing like the most epic version of Candyland and life before me. And it is so beautiful. And I'm like, that is such a beautiful message. Life is like a game and we should enjoy it. And remember not to take games too seriously, but to have fun playing them. And from there, I'm taken into many teachings through the night. It's like I go into these arenas. A visual for you would be in X-Men, Professor X goes into cerebral, which is like a round chamber where he can connect with the rest of the world. It's like I'd be in this arena of tiles, and then when I would be done there, it would liquid smoke disintegrate and reform into a new arena. Like, um, and I was just, there was so much love and teaching. And again, I'm like this the entire night. I am locked in a straight as an arrow position on the bed. And this experience took a lot of energy just to have, you know, I mean, it took everything of my energy. And so if I got tired and I went like this, like, oh my gosh, this is so much, my head would be shot back. If I tried to take my hands apart, it would be like, it would
Wow.
just come right back. I could not break out of this alignment. And I was taught many things. Many things are inaccessible at this time to me to recall, but there was main takeaways. This was the night that I was truly shown the power of our breath. I took in a deep breath and I felt that energy filling my entire belly and body with luminous light energy. And it was like, whoa, just feeling
Awesome.
lit up. And there was a point in these breathing exercises where this teacher says to me, go ahead, see for yourself. And at this point, I pull my hand away from my other hand, and it's like, and I have like a bubble wand from hand to hand. I can feel raw energy connecting from hand to hand. And I am just in awe and still in a mantra of gratitude this entire time. Another teaching, give me a moment, please.
Yeah.
There was many teachings about just it felt like everything in my life that was obscured to me or that was mysterious, it's like things were just unraveling left and right. Things were revealing themselves to me. Things that didn't make sense to me growing up would just kind of make sense all of a sudden. It was like things were just unraveling inside of me. And with the breath, whew, that was a really big takeaway. Feeling the life energy come into the body that potent, that powerfully. And later into the night, I came to a hall, and it was a cylindrical hall, and it was as high as I could see. And it was like incarnations of me. It was like it was revealed to me that I I'm not trying to be it was revealed to me that I am a king and that I come from a lineage of king. And it was it was not just that I was seeing myself, other incarnations of myself, but all the kings, and that I come from the king. Like I am a king of kings, or I am one king of a king made up of thousands of kings. I was a part of something larger than myself. And there was a remembering, there was this remembering, this realizing, and it felt like a homecoming. It felt like something I knew all my life. It was like, ah, I finally returned. And it was very special to experience that. And now I'm getting to the end right here. So let's hope
No, take your time.
we
You're
don't.
good. You're good. I'm literally just
No, it's not that I feel rushed. I'm
engulfed
just like,
in, yeah,
it's like, I'm just hoping that the Zoom doesn't cut
it
off or
won't.
something.
It
Okay.
won't.
Okay.
I'll make
Well,
sure.
okay. Cool. And so after I feel this sense of return, this welcome feeling, loved all night, just absolutely wrapped in love, I go through a veil. And when I go through this, I, I, my eyes are closed, but in my mind's eye, my eyes are wide open. And at some point, I'm not sure if it was right when I went through that or before this, but my hands have now come out to my side again. And I feel 8 to 10 feet tall, 100% muscle, but all spirit. not a physical body, but a perfection spirit body. I'm 8 to 10 feet tall, and my hands are out to my side. And before me, I see Earth, and I'm floating, and I see the Earth, and I am like, what? What? Okay, there's Earth. And in this moment, I look to my left, slow motion. And when I look to my left, I see an endless line of beings in the same exact formation as me. We're like hand to hand almost, and they're golden. We are luminous golden beings, and it is miles. It is farther than it just goes on until I can't see anymore. And to my left, there is all in the same formation, light beings. And the message that came down the line was, welcome to the human race, Jeff. Been waiting for you. We're glad to have you, Jeff. We've been waiting for you. And I'm like, thank you. What are we doing? What's up? And it's like, it felt like like it's like a radio almost. When they said that, like, Jeff, we love you. Like, and I'm just like kind of confused. I don't really know what's going on, but something major is going on. And it's like, Jeff, are you ready? You ready to do this thing? Do what? What are we doing? Hands out to my side. All of a sudden, I start to take in breaths. And there's a discharge of energy towards the earth as a group. And I am absolutely terrified at the prospect of what is happening right now. And I scream out, I am like, no, because I can feel the rawness of the energy that's leaving my body, the force, the power, like a wave, in combination with my brothers and sisters. And there is an alarm going off. The alarm is made up of every siren on the planet as one. And I am devastated. I can't believe I'm in such disbelief. I'm terrified. I'm absolutely terrified in this moment. And this being that had been guiding me through this night, it says to me in a very stern voice, it's the only way. It's the only way they're going to wake up, Jeff. And when I heard those words, it washed through my entire body. This understanding that what was taking place right now was beyond my comprehension, and that I was a part of something much bigger than myself, and that I needed to trust, and I needed to believe, and I needed to give it my all. And then I took more breaths. I must have done that for over 5 minutes. And the sound that was coming out of me was and I knew that this was God's plan. This was beyond me. And I gave it everything I had. Everything I had, because it was conveyed to me that we need to wake up, and there needs to be a strong impact for that to happen. And after that, I was calling out to my loved ones. Mother, come with me now. Father, come with me now. Shelly, come with me now. And I was calling out to many, many people in my life, almost anybody I could remember. And I have this kind of web of souls that I'm grabbing a hold of, and I take them and I grab them, and then I start to ascend away from the planet into the darkness, holding these souls with me as I soar into the abyss. And then it is just like choo 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 choo. Back in the bed. And I am back in my cousin's room. It just ended just like that. And I was free to move my body. And I wiggled my toes and I wiggled my legs, and I turned and sat up on the bed, and it was around sunrise. And I got up out of my bed, and I went into the living room, and I sat on this little couch thing by the front window, and the lawn was overgrown. And I remember just looking out the window at the grass as if I'd never seen grass so beautiful in my life. And there was this feeling of being reborn. And like just totally grateful to be alive, feeling newborn, feeling like everything looks pristine and beautiful, and feeling very weak though. That whole day, a couple days after that, I had very low energy, but I felt invincible. I guess because I had been shown my divinity for the first time, confirmation that we are eternal beings of light. And that experience seriously woke me up to it gave me confirmation of there being more than meets the eye, more than the 3D experience, that there is a divine plan for all of us. And in this life we all live, we all are born, and then we pass to the next life. But that our world has reached a point in this day and age where there are strongholds on the planet keeping people in darkness, keeping people locked in blindness, and that there is a plan for us to overcome that. And I have thought about this night probably almost every day in the last 14 years, trying to make sense of it, trying to understand it better, trying to believe and have faith and know that God is love and that we are very loved and that we don't always comprehend what needs to happen or has happened, and that one might, you know, I mean, shoot, the movies like to depict end of day things or disaster movies, terrible, horrible things, making us think that, giving us a negative look at the potential of a global shakening. Um, but I believe it is to come, and that it is for our highest good and for our ascension and for the raising of consciousness and awareness and love. Um, yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you,
Very,
Molly.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, and and I used to feel like, especially in 2011, like I had to live with the burden. It was a blessing and a curse because I had to feel like every day might be the day for a long time. And it was heavy to live with that. But as I've gotten older, I mean, goodness, the world has gotten way crazier since that time. And what I know is that this has not come to pass, which tells me that God decides when, how. This is God's plan. And we as individuals do not make that decision, that everything is done divinely planned. And if I could offer hope, it would be, I hope that this story makes you want to live every day to the fullest and love as much as you can and live for that day and make the world a better place every day. Because we're all individually going to pass someday. Um, and yeah, love. That's the message. Love.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, Jeff, so much. This was very um impactful. I was just engulfed in your journey. It was
Thank you.
amazing. You're welcome. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you,
sharing. Yeah.
Molly. Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for providing this space for people to share their stories. I can't wait to hear more people's stories coming forward in this time, because 2025, here we are. We need to hear these stories from our brothers and sisters and uplift each other and give hope to one
Right.
another, to know that we're not alone and that there is a divine plan for all of us. This entire journey is not for nothing, and it's not just a bunch of BS. There is so much love for all of us.
Yes. Oh, thank you, Jeff. Will you come back on and share more? Because I know there's a lot more. Are you
I would love to come back on and share
okay?
more, Molly. Thank
Great.
you so much. I want to
You're
say
welcome.
I would love the audience to do a deep dive into Michael Franti's entire musical catalog and into Nako and Medicine for the People's entire catalog. Please let these musicians into your heart. And also, Molly, in preparing to tell this story, I created a playlist that is available for people to listen to. These are songs that inspire me, and some of them tell the story of this journey through other people. And I want to gift that to all the people listening. If you want to listen to this, it is on my YouTube music, just under Jeff Wuorenmaa, or you can find it on my Instagram in my profile link. But I created this playlist for you,
Awesome.
for everybody to listen to.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Jeff. That is so
Thank
great.
you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much,
Oh,
Molly.
you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you everyone for listening. Do you want to share your so your Instagram is just your name, right? Your name?
Yeah, it's just Jeff Wuorenmaa.
Okay, and your YouTube?
Yeah. Yeah, same thing, just Jeff
Okay,
Wuorenmaa.
perfect. All
And I
right.
hope to finally, now that I've got some things off my chest, I hope to be less afraid of showing who I am and speaking more with people. I want to help people, Molly. I want to share, I want to offer my wisdom, and I want to help people and inspire people. And so, reach out to me, tell me things you want me to talk about or need help with, and I'll try to make videos and
That'd be
help be of
amazing.
service to my brothers and sisters.
You should, because people need to hear this. We all have different experiences for spiritual awakenings or what we can offer. I think that would be really beneficial to everyone. Um, and do it with confidence because your journey, what you went through, is powerful, very powerful, very enlightening. So. All right, guys. We better go, but Jeff will be back. Check out his YouTube and Instagram. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Sending everyone so much love, and we pray that you're always surrounded by the Most High God's love, protection, and blessings. Bye, guys. Bye, Jeff. Thank you.
Bye. Bye, Molly.
Bye.